The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. It is a beautiful Sunday. Thanks for being with us. Football season. We're 3 weeks into this college football season, if you can believe it. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, thanks for hanging out with us on a Sunday on First and 12. You can hear it right here on KSL News Radio or on the KSL Sports Zone every Sunday, 10 to noon. And then, of course, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte hook you up with Cougar Nation tomorrow night on KSL News Radio. Myself and Jeremiah Jensen, JJ and Alex on the radio portion of the KSL Sports Zone. You're going to hear us breaking down all of these games, all the sound, all of it. So we'll have plenty of time to be able to get into not just the games that were over the weekend, but also the ones that we anticipate for this next one. But let's jump in our weekly bickering back and forth on how we're going to handle this thing. It is our power rankings in the Big 12. Let's get to it.
The Big 12 Power Rankings, a weekly rank of all 16 programs, from the elite to the bottom dwellers.
That's right. It's the 16-team Power Rankings here on First and 12. Every single week we roll this out on the program. Where should we start, Alex? Should we start at the top or start from 16 and work our way up?
Look, let's just tell the kids that Mom and Dad have been fighting, okay? Let's break it to it. Let's break the news to them. This is what's been going on. No,
Son, get back here. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
Start at the top, man. Look, no one wants to hear about the basement dwellers right off the bat.
Point.
Let's get to it. Let's get to the ones right at the top. We got in and we started looking at this thing, and you initially had given a bump to Oklahoma State. I don't know if I wasn't feeling it yet. Because I think that, your backup quarterback, Isaac Wilson, comes in. If Cam Rising's coming back this week, it's a totally different team. And I think Utah still deserves to be at that number one spot.
Yeah, after kind of settling down and looking past the cauldron that is Tulsa Skelly Stadium, I put Utah back at number one, and I think that's fine. But, hey, it all sorts itself out because next week these top two teams play, and number two in the power rankings this week is the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I think what was noteworthy, too, with Oklahoma State is that, Ollie Gordon wasn't that great again, but Alan Bowman, he put out film that says, hey, we got to respect this guy. So, Whittingham and Scally, when they're dissecting and putting together this defensive game plan this week, it's not just stack the box. Bowman looks like he's improved quite a bit, and that's given me kind of a new optimism about Oklahoma State's chances because I thought, just stack the box. And, yeah, Ollie Gordon's going to get 120, but you're not going to see much through the air with Bowman. He's doing a nice job, and he's playing much better than I thought he would this season, so credit to him.
Here's a little fact for you. Alan Bowman, Grapevine High School grad. Grapevine High School, also where all of my siblings graduated from and where I started high school, and also the graduation place of Post Malone. Post Malone and Alan Bowman, a lot of swagger between those two, all right?
On my drive to Laramie, it's just a lot of Post Malone. I was playing that album front to back. It was wonderful.
Oh, my goodness.
It felt very country. I needed to with the F1 Trillion. It's the country mix. He's
turned a corner. He's turned a little bit of a country corner. He knows how to market himself. So yeah, you're right though. I mean, like we were talking about this. Ollie Gordon won the Doak Walker Award. He might be right now the third, fourth, or fifth best running back in this league. That's how good the RBUs are across this conference. And so Oklahoma State being at number two, got to put them there because Utah and Oklahoma State both 3-0, both facing off against one another this week. Gosh, we're getting spoiled here at the front end of this thing. BYU taking on Kansas State early, and Utah and Oklahoma State, the top two teams in the conference, facing off in week one of conference play of both of those respective teams. Speaking of a tough one, Kansas State is number 3 on this list. Chris Kleiman and his guys come back and make a statement win against Arizona, who is supposed to be further up in this in these rankings, and was certainly talked about as one of those teams in the top 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 on this one, and that's not where they are right now. They're having a hard time.
Number 4, Iowa State. They had a bye this week, so off week after the big win a week ago at Iowa. So Iowa State got to enjoy this weekend. And then number 5, the team that's atop the standings, but number 5 in our power rankings, that's the UCF Knights after their big win at TCU. That's a breakthrough victory as they, like many of these newcomers from a year ago, try to find their footing in year 2, and UCF's off to a hot start.
R.J. Harvey with 182, 189 yards, either way, in the 180s, and he is a force. Arizona State is 3-0. They got the win over Texas State down in San Marcos. The Bobcats are not anything to be. Is that what they are? Are they Bobcats?
Yeah,
Bobcats. They're Bobcats. They're not a slouch that I think that they have been in the past. And Arizona State, credit to Kenny Dillingham and his guys, they are 3-0, and they're absolutely rolling right now. Who knows if that's going to continue in conference play? But ASU right now outperforming what the pundits had. I'd say you, Mitch. I think you were one of those guys who said they were going to be really, really bad this year. No. BYU coming in at the 7th spot this week. I think they're up from 10 from last week. Big enough win over the weekend over Wyoming to impress both you and I. And it's nice to have them right there. They're 3-0. Look, they're 3-0. And there's something to be said about not losing any of those games in the out-of-conference play.
I think people are going to see with these power rankings is that the top 4 is kind of clear-cut right now.
Yes.
But from 5 to 14, or 5 to 12 maybe, it's razor thin, man. And you have one kind of off week, it's going to take a hit. And we're still kind of filling out these teams. I feel like we're going to go through another year where what can we expect week after week in this conference? But that's what makes it so fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it feels crazy to say BYU 7, but when you stack up the resumes and kind of stack up how all these teams are playing, hey, BYU's in the top half of this league through 3 weeks, and credit to Kalani Sitake and his program for jumping out to, once again, another fast start. Kalani's teams start season strong, and they're doing it once again. Number 8, a team that's tumbled after a blowout loss in the Little Apple. That's the Arizona Wildcats. To be expected. They were not competitive after that fast start early in that game, but then Kansas State just rolled. It wasn't I was surprised that Arizona was not more competitive.
The better quarterback in that game was Avery Johnson. He had 100 and something on the ground, and he also threw, not for a ton of yards, but threw a couple touchdowns. More to be said than the guy that I think a lot of people had as a possible all-conference performer, possible offensive player of the year in Noah Fafita, and you didn't see that yesterday. And Kansas State making a statement win with that. Colorado 9. Enough done in that game.
Is that a stretch? Is that at second glance it feels a little high? Maybe we put them too high.
Well, but here's the thing: like, who would you switch them with? Because TCU's next, and maybe you flop TCU in Arizona, in Colorado. Excuse me. But after that, I mean, Baylor. I still don't believe in those guys. Texas Tech has had a couple of games prior to yesterday that doesn't really speak to me there. But that's your order right there. You have Colorado at 9, TCU 10. I'm okay with that. Baylor 11, Texas Tech, Joe McGuire and his guys come back and put up 66 points. They needed that because it felt like they were in such a bad spot. It was a nice one.
I'd like to think Texas Tech responded after we said, hey, you're the 16th team last week in the power rankings.
That's what they saw.
So they responded with an old school Texas Tech shootout. Hey, a team that tumbled quite a bit, Kansas. And I think it's a sound the alarm moment where I kind of come away from that loss to UNLV on Friday. Not that UNLV's a bad team. That's not the issue.
So many people picked that upset. So many people picked that upset because they saw the writing on the wall a little bit, and they were like, Kansas has got something going on. And UNLV, on the flip side, has been playing some really, really good football. So it was a trap game for sure.
Jalen Daniels, it's teetering on territory where does he need to be benched? Ooh. Because he's turning the ball over way too much, and he's had 2 games where he's had game-winning drive opportunities, and he's struggling to manufacture drives, and he just looks so out of sync. Is it carryover from missing basically an entire season last year due to injury?
You're talking about former preseason Offensive Player of the Year in the Big 12, Jalen Daniels. What?
With an Apple Watch dangling around his neck. That was so long ago.
Wow.
But yes, I'm a little bit worried about Jalen Daniels and this Kansas team. They are struggling mightily. Hey, they joined the ranks of these teams at the bottom. Number 14, Houston. They had a nice win, but still, it was just against Rice. Number 15, Cincinnati. They took down Miami, Ohio. And look, this feels wrong, but again, this is the balance of this league.
Yep.
Number 16, West Virginia. They're in the cellar right now. Their only wins against an FCS team. They got to show a little bit more. It's a tough schedule for Neil Brown and his team, but someone's got to take that 16th spot, and it just so happens to be the Mountaineers this week. But that, again, highlights the depth of this conference, and I think that's what you like every single week. Anything can happen.
Let's get you ready for next week. We've got the full slate of conference matchups. It's going to be a big one, not just for us here locally, but across the entire conference. We'll preview all of the upcoming schedules of the Big 12 right here on First and 12, brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Happy shopping. Mitch, Harper, Alex, Kirry. We'll be right back. Stay with us.